கொஞ்சம் குழப்பம். கொஞ்சம் பாரு, யாரு சவுண்ட் பண்றாங்களோ அவங்களை மியூட் பண்ணிவிடு. Yes, good evening, one and all. Let us start our one-day national level webinar. I'm Dr. Sangeeta, Head PG Department of English, Government Arts and Science College, Kalakurchi District. I feel immensely honored to be with you because of this organization. We are conducting the webinars continuously because of the support of the participants. And now our Tiruvallur University Constituent College is merged with the government, and our college has changed. The name has changed. It is now from today, from this week onwards, our college's name is Government Arts and Science College, Kalakurchi. So I feel very happy about it to express this matter to you. Thank you, dear participants, for your active participation in all our programs. And I feel, at the outset, I feel immensely honored to thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor and respected Registrar and all the higher authorities of our university for their continuous support to conduct this program. Next, I welcome our resource person, Dr. P. Pavitra from PSG Arts and Science College. Welcome, ma'am. Once again, I welcome you all. Yes, ma'am. I would like to give a brief introduction about the masculinity in literature. So masculinity is the set of social practices and cultural representations associated with being a man. So masculinity is that the plural masculinities is also used in recognition that ways of being a man and cultural representations of about men vary both historically and culturally between societies and between different groupings of men within any one of the society. So the feminist critic of masculinity adds that against which women are defined as the other has a long history. But writing on masculinities grew enormously from the 1980s onwards. In the words of one contributor, so it seems as if every man and is writing a book on masculinities. In the literature on masculinities, evaluations of masculinity and explanations of the links between masculinity or masculinities and those people defined as men vary according to theoretical perspective. For example, in accounts drawing on the natural sciences, masculinity or masculinities are the result of physiological factors such as hormones or chromosomes. This is it. So Goldberg in 1979, for example, identifies the neuroendocrine system. The interaction of the nervous system with the hormone system as the biological basis of masculinity or masculinities. Such essentialism is also characteristic of popularist celebrity writing about masculinity, in which men are urged to reinvigorate their natural masculinity. Damaged by the conditions of modern society, and prescribes a remedy in the form of men only retreats and bonding rituals. In contrast, from the more critical academic perspective of the social sciences, masculinities are understood as a form of power relation, both among men themselves and between men and women. In place of essentialism, masculinities are argued to arise from the social context in which men live, for example, from their positions in the various institutions and organizations of their society, and are in the context of the socially available discourses about gender. From 1950 to 1999, the fiction genre of Ladlit presented British readers with a romantic, comic, popular male confessional literature. It was comic in the traditional sense that it had a happy ending, and was romantic in the modern sense that it confronted men's fear of marriage and adult responsibilities, which they later got over. And in addition, it was regarded as a chance to examine male identity in contemporary Britain. But by the beginning of the 21st century, the genre was in decline, as one was seeking for a new story of masculine identity. Although Although the term lad has changed its meaning in English literature, the main characteristics of ladlit have remained the same, which are its anti-heroes, who are portrayed as losers, liars, wanderers, and transients. However, they are also described as funny, bright, and charming. Additionally, the protagonists are heterosexual men in their late 20s or early 30s who concentrate on women, alcohol, as well as football, and looking back nostalgically upon childhood and youth. In contrast to Laglit, another genre has been established, that is Checklit, which was founded in Helen Fielding's novel Bridget Jones' Diary. It was published in the year 1996. Every aspect of such books of the two genres, from the color and design of the cover to how they are advertised, follows strictly prescribed gender lines. So this is it. So in the meantime, there has been a slow focus on masculinity in language and gender studies, as the exclusive attention had formerly been upon femininity. The historical tradition of men being constituted in terms of universal normative values has led to the phenomenon of invisible masculinity. But there has always been there has also been a discourse available to men which always allows them to represent themselves as people, humanity, or mankind. But this has been challenged in recent years by the fast rise of consumer markets, which aimed at capitalizing the male consumer in the mid-80s, and by the scrutiny of feminism. This focus has also this focus has also been on cultural studies, which examine how literal texts reflect, modify, and generate new fictions of masculinity. As fiction, as fiction can be regarded as a mirror of social change and society, one analyzes the socio-cultural stereotyped representation of masculinity and its change. And in addition, popular culture in all its forms and instantiations plays a keynote in the constitution of modern identities. People often use the terms these terms like masculinity or manliness in everyday language, whereas scholars often tend to talk about masculinities. Thus, it is important to define these terms before applying them to the chosen texts. In the 19th century, manliness was the most articulated indicator of men's gender. It meant that there was a single standard manhood which was expressed in certain physical characteristics and morals depended on class and religion. A very influential theory on femininity and masculinity was developed on the basis of psychoanalysis by Sigmund Freud and his French follower Jacques Lacan. Yes, by these two persons, the Sigmund Freud and Jacques Lacan. And although it is partly derived from the 19th century, this approach still influences gender studies, and it deals with disputing gender binaries and the equation of masculinity with human rationality. Freud and Lacan claimed that all humans were governed by irrational, unconscious desires. Men, but not women, had a privileged relationship to social power, and symbolized in the male an anatomical part that men feared losing and women envied. That is, the phallus is a symbol of power, but masculinity is always in danger of unconscious castration, castration fears. However, the most important theory of late 20th century, feminism, is the concept of gender as a social construction, since masculinity and femininity are loosely defined, historically variable, and interrelated, and social ascriptions to persons with certain kinds of bodies, not the natural, necessary, or ideal characteristics of people with similar genitals. As a result of the second feminist movement in the 1990s and 1960s and 1970s, the first studies of masculinity developed in the mid 90s. The scholars Joseph H. Fleck and Jack Sauer radically criticized a one-dimensional masculinity in their publication Men and Masculinity, which was published in the year 1974. And during the 80s, there was a strong movement to establish masculinity studies as a new field of research parallel to women's studies. The anti-sexist, pro-feminist New Men movement criticized the ideal that men had been seen as the norm and synonym of mankind. 10 years later, the new men's masculinity studies were established in the USA, but it has not become as popular as women's studies. So this is it. And as hegemony collectively refers to cultural dominance in a society, there are specific relations of predominance and subordination between this is low battery. Excuse me, just a minute. Sorry for the disturbance. So in contrast to this promiscuity, prostitution, masochism, and pedophilia are considered as the worst of all, and therefore they are pushed to the bottom of the sexual hierarchy. Excuse me. Yes, this is okay. This is for the charge is low in here. Is it okay? No problem. Okay. Yeah, sorry for the disturbance. So this is it. So this stereotype of effeminacy of often claimed by men who belong to the group of hegemonic masculinity. Surprisingly, female adjectives are also often used to describe subordinated heterosexual men, but one cannot be hegemonic of one is not heterosexual, since this is seen as a contradiction in the patriarchy of Western societies. Gay men always fear that they have to face discrimination at any time as they meet heterosexuals every day. Hence, their relations are often characterized by prudence, reserve, and concentration on the gay subculture. However, homosexuals do think that they have as normal men as their choice of object and other personality. 70s and 1980s, new social spaces of freedom have been created, like the gay communities, which have their own pubs and shops and also political groups. And being a homosexual means to be connected to one of these communities. Hence, scholars have stopped to treat homosexuality as a disease and have perceived as an identity which underlies development and integration in itself. Homosexuality has been seen as a new subculture ever since, which has a strong potential to change society. Then homosexuals have grown up in surroundings of hegemonic masculinity, example in sports club, media, schools, etc., etc. Thus, their homosexuality is not based on a lack or a gender vacuum. Their decisive inflection in generally followed from a sexual experience, often with a with a woman, since compulsory heterosexuality was a stable part of growing up. So this finally ends in the coming out, which is seen to work on three interconnected levels. And first one is through accepting one's sexuality for oneself. Second, in exploring it with others of similar orientation. And third, by telling the rest of the world with pride. But this model, so this model, which is often proclaimed by gay liberation, is often contested as the final coming out. Often means coming to an already constituted gay milieu. So the most common sexual practices between men and in our culture do not differ from those between men and women. The difference with a man lies in the shape of his body. On the one hand, this is reassuring, but on the other hand, it might be confusing. The similarly allows to explore the other's body, but also allows to explore one's own. If one compares homosexual with homosexual relationships, one asserts a high condition of reciprocity in these partnerships. The factors for reciprocity are complex. The partners are to be of the same age, have the same social background, and have the same position in the structure of gender. Thus, finding a partner in problematizing as one wants to find oneself mirrored in his partner. Furthermore, homosexuality is often closely connected to bisexuality. However, in Western cultures, there is no positive social category of the bisexual. And bisexuality is often seen as a to and fro between heterosexuality and homosexuality, or something that common the two sexualities, as one of it is subordinated to the other. In Western societies, bisexuality is characterized as something unstable. And in addition, there are also some other structures in form of class and race, which can be examined. Connell submits a second, in this case, an exterior relation marginalization. Men are often marginalized as members of special ethnic groups or classes, and therefore authorize the hegemonic one. One of the most important marginalized group is the working class. Although in the working class, new family forms have been pioneered, and working class and labor parties have been more progressive in gender politics in general than middle class or upper class parties, This class is often seen as conservative and backwards. So according to Andrew Tolson, masculinity in this class is constructed but also undermined in the relations of family, household, and workplace. This model and claims that it is rather the labor market than the workplace that is important, especially in a time of high unemployment and temporary jobs. In addition, that it is fairly important for young men to have their own income and their entering in the workforce as a strong effect on them. So living on the edge of the labor market often results in aggressive behavior within and between different peer groups, and but it is not uncontrolled or even psychotic, and it is socially defined and regulated. Often violence is shown symbolically in forms of earrings or tattoos. In addition, Cornell sees a strong connection to Alfred Adler's model of the male protest, which is a marginalized form of masculinity. So it picks up context of hegemonic masculinity, but modifies them in context of poverty and exclusion from cultural and economic resources. And it based on early powerless experiences in working class childhood. Men excessively strive for power, which is generally connected to their sex in Western societies and often results in violent behavior. So these men regularly concentrate in other people's opinions and often feel that they could lose this unjustified attitude of power, especially in comparison to hegemonic masculinity. Actually, it is not an individual phenomenon, but a collective one. This collective one is characterized by a masculine working class ethics of solidarity, which separates them from the rest of the working class and results in the contradiction of egalitarianism between the two sexes and misogyny. In addition, Cornell remarks that compulsory heterosexuality is also enforced on men, although scholars like Gail Rubin and Adrienne Rich use this term only when referring to women. In their opinion, the cultural and social pressures of women make them sexually available to men. But Cornell reveals in his research that the male body also has to be disciplined to heterosexuality. In addition, Cornell identifies a second marginalized group of men which can be allocated in the upper middle class. These men have been influenced by feminism and want to reform their masculinity. On the one hand, they were often able to identify with their mothers in the pre-Oedipal period, and on the other hand, their fathers or their brothers have reproduced hegemonic masculinity. But during their adolescence, they have been confronted with feminism and decided to change the traditional form of masculinity and to integrate it into their their own able to express their own emotions, especially in relationships. They avoid sexist expressions and the domination of conversations with women, as they do not want to oppress them. But this is often seen by other men as positivity or even as a homosexual attitude. So these two types of relations, on the one hand, hegemony, hegemony, dominance or subordination and complicity, and on the other, marginalization or authorization. It can be used as the instrument to examine masculinity. However, there are no stable characteristics but configurations of practice generated in special situations in a changing structure of relationship. But Connell's concept has also been criticized. Stephen remarks that he centralizes men in his concept too much. Connell's approach of hegemonic masculinity is based on a male claim to power. In addition, Stephen claims that he is not able to part with a patriarchal duality of man and woman. In Connell's concept, women remain dominated by men. Women can criticize male hegemony, but they are still emotionally bound to men. This is contrary to the American pro-feminist approaches in new men's studies. However, Connell's concept offers an appropriate opportunity in to examine masculinities in societies and fiction, as it is well structured, and main aim is to examine masculine identities and not only the relationships between men and women. So this is it. The brief introduction towards masculinity studies. Excuse me. Thank you for your next. I hand over the session to Dr. Pavitra, working as an assistant professor of English, PST College of Arts and Science, Coimbatore. She has some 15 years of experience, teaching experience. Her area of specialization is translation studies, Dalit literature and American literature. And she is the BOS member in PST Arts and Science College. She published some 10 publication in book chapters and also in the conference level. And she has attended some 30 workshops, webinars and FTPs. And she has contributed papers in both national and international seminars and conferences. And she has some years of research experiences, and she is guiding MPhil students. She guided more than 100 students on English language teaching through electronic media and projects on translation studies. And she has organized various workshops, seminars, and guest lecture for the welfare of the students. She completed online certificate course funded by MHRD and other sources. And she has received certificate of appreciation in recognition as the best mentor twice from NPTEL. And she has acted as a resource person and delivered lectures on various platforms. She has been an active mentor in supporting students, both co-curricular activities and extracurricular activities. I welcome you, ma'am. Please take over the session and make it interesting.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Happy good evening to one and all present here. On the outset, I would heartily thank the Registrar of Tiruvallur University and also Professor Dr. Sangeeta, HOD and organizer of Tiruvallur Government Arts and Science College, for providing me such a wonderful opportunity to talk on masculinity studies on this beautiful evening. So before I would start my slides or PPT, generally when we talk about certain studies, the recent studies that have developed no, after 20th century and possibly through these 10 years or 15 years of study, basically when we look into the cultural studies, the queer theory, the gay theory, etc., has taken a popular stand, and studies are flourishing from day to day. We could see different theses and different researches are made on these particular studies. So I would also like to include this masculinity study along with other studies that have flourished these days. When we talk about feminism, why not masculinity studies? Why not men's studies? So perception differs from person to person. When we talk about feminism, when we talk about queer studies, when we talk about cultural studies, of course, when we talk about masculinity studies. So what basically masculinity studies is, when it started flourishing, who are the theorists who gave importance to these theories, and how it took its stand right from ancient literature to modern literature is what we are going to see today. So before proceeding, I would like to present my slide. Thank you. Ma'am, is my screen visible, ma'am? Sangeeta, ma'am?
No, ma'am, not yet visible.
Okay. Ma'am, now I hope it's visible.
Not it, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Okay, let us start. So masculinity studies and literature. So basically, let us look into what man is all about when we study into literature, and how it started taking its position or place in literature. Okay, so now what is masculinity? So qualities that are usually attributed to men are called as masculinity. Okay, so when we talk about feminism, we say all the qualities that women have something to do with feminism. Is it something that masculinity is something to talk about? The usually, qualities that the men have. I will say no. It doesn't restrict itself only to men. It could also be taken to young. It also could be taken to adults. Even if you can see the masculinity features or characteristics in a woman also. Okay, so it is nothing but the qualities that are usually attributed to men. And my second point is that meaning that underlies when we talk about it. So it is the possessing, okay, the underlying about the possessing characteristics, okay, considered to be typical and appropriate for a man. But again, here we should think, is it? So the meaning says that it is a possessing characteristics that is considered typical and appropriate to a man. Okay, let us see later when we study about, when we look into the slides on types of masculinity, and when we come across feminine masculinity, we will know whether it is applicable only for men or even it is applicable for female. So it can be used, masculinity can be used to describe any human or even an animal which attributes these above said qualities. Okay, and in culture, when we basically talk about culture, in culture, what is masculinity? In culture, masculinity means fitness, strength, wisdom, the courage, the righteous behavior that a man, a human, generally when we talk, I do not want to use that, when we generally talk about human, has. Okay, so in culture, it is nothing but it talks about strength, it talks about honor, it talks about courage, it talks about the righteous behavior, fitness, wisdom, etc. So all put together is called as masculinity in short. Now coming to the ancient literature. When we go back to ancient literature, this masculinity study dates back to 3000 BC. Not today or yesterday, it dates back to 3000 BC. So when we talk about ancient literature, the basic literature that comes to our mind are Rome, Greek, Latin, etc. Okay, so in all these Greek, Latin, and Roman literature, man is depicted as one of the strong person and always as a hero. not only as a hero, but also as a king, as a leader, as a judge, even as a general in command. Okay, so is it only for being a hero, and is it only for being a judge, general, king, and a leader? No, not only that. Even gods, even in myths, even the heroes, they all had this masculinity features, and it is beautifully depicted and implicated in the passages of literature, ancient literature, particularly Rome, Greek, and Latin literature. So, the ancient heroic legends, for example, when we take Iliad and Odyssey, the epic of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is a popular character, okay, which is a poem is on Gilgamesh, which is called as the Epic of Gilgamesh, which dates back to second zone in masculinity studies. Thank you for the
Yes.
thank you so much. But I also recommend the near future researchers or whoever is here in the platform to do a study on men. Please do a study on men, and you will know the wonderful side of them.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
that's
Yes,
what I
ma'am.
would like to conclude, ma'am.
Yes, madam. Madam, only one question for you. Differentiate between the concepts of feminine masculinity and pariah femininity, please. One question, just one question.
Ma'am, I didn't get you the question. Feminine masculinity and
Pariah, P-A-R-I-A-H, pariah femininity.
ma'am, can you please type it out, ma'am? I will look into it.
Differentiate between the concepts of feminine masculinity and pariah femininity.
Pariah femininity. This is something new to me. I think I need to make a study on this. Pariah femininity is something
actually,
new.
she's asking about Dalit femininity.
Yeah, Dalit.
Okay.
That's why.
Okay,
That's why.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
That
okay,
is
ma'am. But you wanted to
fine.
know the difference between Dalit femininity and masculine femininity. But as far as Dalit femininity is considered, I think women are not given a major role. I think they are used as a subordinates. Okay, they are used as a subordinate, because I have done little research in Dalit literature, so I know like most of the women characters are subordinated. They are used as puppets, and there was a lot of male dominance in it. But here in this feminine masculinity, I will say like women in the form of with the features of a man. Okay, a women having a feature of a man, or women having features of men could be studied. So this is the major difference what I know. But this feminine masculinity cannot be found in Dalit literature as far as my observance is considered, ma'am. So that is what I would like to conclude.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I want to say something.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I am Abhimanyu Dev Singh Biloria from Jammu.
Hello, sir.
And this is very wonderful thing, madam, that you have taken up this topic, because I have always believed that under the umbrella of feminism, there is still lots of gender biasing.
Yes,
Just
sir.
because the literature is written by men and about men, that doesn't mean that they should not be studied as a subject. So this is a beautiful concept, but unfortunately, ma'am, I have been trying to log in into your program for past 1 hour, but I got it at this point of time. I missed everything, and I have been waiting for your session so eagerly for past 1 week. Indeed, I have been calling Dr. Sangeeta since morning. Send me the link. Send me the link. So,
Sir, I send the slides, whatever I have prepared to ma'am through Gmail.
yes, ma'am.
I hope
And,
that will help you in some way to underline the concept of what exactly masculinity study is all about.
all I could see when I got into YouTube, there was, I think, your ancient literature. That was the slide which I could see on YouTube. So
Okay.
I think I missed the lots of part, but I'm very happy that this step has been taken, and it is for perhaps the first time in India. In foreign countries, yes, there is, but India, no. Even if you talk about, you say something in favor of patriarchy, or even if you talk about men, lots of people gets very annoyed and angry. It is not about, empowering men or empowering women. It is about gender studies.
Yes,
Men
ma'am.
and women both should be studied like a gender.
Yes, sir.
Right. So thank you so much. I'm very happy that this study has been taken up, but I'm very sad that I couldn't get even a single word to listen to it.
Sir, I will send my slides through ma'am. So ma'am will help you out for sure in knowing what exactly is being discussed here, sir.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, and a wonderful initiative. And I must tell you, ma'am, please, please, please do a, give it a very formal structure, and maybe you would like to write a paper on it.
I have to, sir. Sure, I will.
Yes,
I will.
because this would be the initiation of, there are certain laws regarding divorce in which women, yes, women are victim. I'm not denying it, but at some place, men are also victim. So it is the divorce laws are not very gender friendly laws. So maybe your research could initiate it. So I'm sure that your research is going to encourage lots of writers and academicians and intellectuals to look literature from this perspective also. And I'm really, really grateful to you that you thought of this topic and you worked hard on it. I'll personally get in touch with you and talk about it. I'll take your number from Dr. Sunita.
Yeah, yes, sir. Please, please.
Thank you so much.
Sir. You're most welcome. Thank you for it. Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am. The person, Gunjan,
Yes,
has
ma'am.
said that, no, ma'am, I'm asking about Pariya femininity only. Okay, so for I was trying to understand what exactly the Pariya femininity hierarchy is. It talks about maybe the characteristic features of women. If my understanding is not wrong, can I have Gunjan online, please? No, I think she's not there, ma'am. So I think the session was highly informative. Once again, I take this opportunity to thank the Registrar of Tiruvallur University and also Dr. Professor Sangeeta from Tiruvallur Government Arts and Science College, who was so supportive and highly friendly natured person whom I will always keep in touch with. And also, I would also like to extend my thanks to all the participants of today's session, and also your feedback means a lot to me. Thank you, every one of you. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. One announcement for the participants. Due to the university exams in our college, I have no time to send the previous week's certificate. Kindly wait for one more week. I will send both the certificates within a week. So kindly wait for up to that. Thank you. Thank you. This feedback has sent in the chat box and kindly fill it. And both the certificates I will send within a week. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you. Pavitra ma'am, you just sent your PPT to me and I will send it to the participants. Yes,
Sure,
so
ma'am.
many of
Thank you
them
so much,
asked about it.
Thank
Okay,
you.
ma'am.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you, ma'am. Okay.
Sangeeta ma'am.
Yes, please.
Ma'am, I'm Dr. Sushila from Bangalore. I want to thank you for the wonderful topic which you have taken up today, as well as Pavitra ma'am. And thank you for sending the link on time and for your kind responses. It is always a pleasure to be a part of your webinar. Thank you, ma'am.
Welcome. Welcome, ma'am. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you.